on your travels through life walk into an Eastern celebration, you will see that at a certain point the priest will come out of the holy doors and chant, peace unto all. That goes back to the upper room. Peace is his tone, the tone of all liturgy, and woe betide the noisy celebrant and the noisy congregation who excludes the real peace of Christ in the interest of human applause. We are here not to celebrate ourselves. Brethren, forgive me, but we're not great sheikhs. It's not worth looking at ourselves. It's far more productive to look upwards and inwards to his presence. And there I want to lead you today. Yesterday, I happened to be at the altar celebrating, and it happened to be the very moment at the consecration when there was a double eruption. The Lord was coming into my hands from the realms of glory, surrounded by hidden angels, there but not absent at all. But at the same time, in Jerusalem, at the very same time, he was also coming in power. Are you speak up today? Then I shall begin. Sir Charles Warren was born in our area in the north of Wales in 1840, in Bangor, where I went to study theology. He was an archaeologist, an officer in the British Royal Engineers, and later General of the British Army, therefore someone grounded. Remember that bit. So he was involved in battles in Africa and Asia. In 1867, he went to Jerusalem as a member of the Palestine Exploration Fund and conducted a series of excavations that lasted until 1870. Amongst his findings is a network of galleries, that's tunnels, located under the dome of the rock. That's a holy place for all monotheistic believers, as well as an underground water supply system that was later named after him, the Warren Shaft. He also completed a detailed topographical map of the old city. I make a jump, and I come to where this is relevant to us. In a chapter of a work of his, entitled Holy Fire, Warren speaks of all he knows of the miracle of Holy Saturday. That was yesterday for a great chunk of the Christian world, the whole Eastern Bloc, which was of particular interest to him. In the first paragraph of this chapter, he poses a crucial question. What is that fire? He goes on. What is that fire which on Easter Eve lights up the lamps in the Holy Sepulchre? That a miracle attends the ceremony, there cannot be a doubt. The British archaeologist was an eyewitness to the ceremony all 4 years he stayed in Jerusalem. And according to his assessment, there is not a doubt in his mind that it was a miracle. and make a jump. Providence brought him in contact with somebody who could get him in close. Situated at this salient and advantageous spot, he states the following: I had seen the miracle of the holy fire on a former occasion, but now I was to have a more complete view. He goes on to explain how. At last, there is a feeling that the fire is at hand, and actually you can pick that up even at a distance if you follow it through. Intense waiting. And then things move. Masses of tow, now this is the primitive candles they have, are thrust forward. A flash at the opening is seen. The tower is lighted. Now at this stage, in the middle of the 1800s, there is still an opening over the crucial point over the Holy Sepulchre. Just that's important for what follows. In a moment, as though by magic, the fire extends itself in all directions. He goes on to want to get to the bottom of this and seeks out the very ones who go in. One bishop goes in. He may be followed by the Armenian patriarch. It evolves over the centuries how it happens, but the essence has not changed. So he gets to interview two who have been there. One thing that comes through in the mid-1800s is that there is no distinction. The Muslims are actually on side and enter into it fully. That is very interesting at that stage of the evolution. You know that the Muslims actually have the key to the Holy Sepulchre. There's only one entrance, and at the status quo, an ancient Muslim family has it. Listen then. He goes to talk to a Moldavian monk who had to take the responsibility. There was a time when, I won't go into it, there's a whole question of what happened to the succession of the patriarchs and so on. They were in Constantinople for a while and so on. The Turks opened Christ's sepulchre and put out all the lamps. That still happens right now. All over, all the lamps are extinguished. Then the Turkish authorities and the Pasha himself came. The church was unusually crowded and stuffy. There was nothing lit anywhere. The patriarch went up to the main iconostasis with the consul. Meletios, the Metropolitan of Transjordan, sat in the altar with the rest of the bishops, all melancholy. Having finished the procession, all the clergy went quickly into the altar with the banners. Metropolitan Meletios stayed alone at the entrance of the sepulchre in the hands of the Turks. The Turks divested him, and the authorities searched him. That still happens. No fraud. And the whole sepulchre is searched inside. Then they put the omophorion on him. In the east, the stone is stitched together here, but it's the same as we have, and it's stitched together. The omophorion, that's what goes over the shoulders. That's what it means in Greek. the sepulchre of Christ. It's sealed in the morning until then, no one can go in there. And let him go inside. He goes alone. Actually now the Armenian Patriarch goes behind into the antechamber. But into the Holy of Holies, he goes alone. And from memory, recites ancient Greek prayers which have come down the centuries, alone with his God. And the doors are closed behind him. And they're all waiting, just as in the Gospel where we have the archangel coming to Zechariah. Some time passed, do not know how long, we were all beside ourselves from a kind of fear. But all of a sudden, from near Christ's sepulchre, there shined a light. Soon, light also appeared from the altar in the royal doors in the opening, and it flowed like 2 rivers of fire, one from the west, from Christ's sepulchre, another from the east, from the altar. Oh, what joy and exultation there was in the church then! Everyone became as though drunk or besides himself. And we did not know who was saying what, or who was running over where. And a great noise rose in all the church. All were running round. All were crying out in joy and thanksgiving. Most of all, the Arab women. The Turks themselves, the Muslims, fell on their knees and cried, Allah, Allah. Oh, what a strange and most wonderful sight. The whole church was transformed into fire. Nothing could be seen in the church besides the heavenly fire. To this day it happens. It has to happen in the hands of the Patriarch of Jerusalem of the Greek succession, which goes directly back to St. James the Apostle, or the one that he designates. And to this day, the fire comes not only into the Holy Sepulchre from the tomb itself, and then settles in a form of a column where he can then light his 33 candles, touching the power of God directly. As in the Sistine Chapel, you can see ignition passing between the finger of God and the finger of receptive man coming into being. The same power! Let there be light! And after a few seconds, while actually it has already started independently, going round, the mainly very pure virgins and monks who are in there, their candles are also lit by the finger of God, separately. Eventually, he's coming out, and you can see the whole inner chamber ablaze. But the fire doesn't hurt. They all then, who have not received it from God directly, exchange the flame, and it goes around the world by midnight in designated airlines. It's come also to Dublin, because our Romanian friends I know have it. And for the first minutes, 7 to 10 minutes, the fire is doubly miraculous. They do this on their beards or their veils if they're nuns. It does not burn. It gives it an ecstatic warmth, a feeling of well-being. And it's not the same consistency as what burns in the lamps. Then it settles to a normal flame, and it is never put out in the Holy Sepulchre until the next Holy Saturday. When a student first time round in Rome, it was Holy Saturday, and I thought suddenly about all this, because we used the Primus Retention Rite for the Triduum to a large extent, and that comes directly from the Holy Sepulchre, with bits of chant in different parts of the church or chapel, Kyrie eleison, very Greek in orientation, on one's knees and nothing before him who is power. This, my friends, is what we have. We're not here to clap ourselves or to have a good time. We're nothing before that same power. And this day, we need to realize that we're nothing, but that same power is on side. Do you know that the Lord wanted this series of intuitions given through St. Faustina for our time? He wanted us to understand the nature of his heart. Without pointing fingers at anyone, any priest or any community or any type of spirituality, I do know, as a confessor, that this has helped a lot, because we're invited to realize that God is always not menacing us, but looking for us, and looking for that element of goodness which is in all of us. And it's not easy sometimes to have to adjust to people who are still in the ambit of God the policeman, God the spy, God the terrible judge. And that had been around a lot until God helped us with this great devotion, this great intuition of his true, complete nature, mercy, his greatest quality. And so it is that personally I would hesitate before inviting people to get too involved with groups or whatever who might not accept this angle of our spirituality. And there are big chunks that don't. It's not helpful, because people then get into the illness, I say the illness of scruple.